Chasing Lincoln's Killer by James L. Swanson. Lincoln delivered his second inaugural address on March 4, 1865. And then, on April 9th, the Civil War ends. In between those two time periods, Booth plots to kidnap Abraham Lincoln and has several failed attempts. On April 14th in the morning, John Wilkes Booth was picking up his mail at Ford's Theater when he overheard someone saying that President Lincoln would be attending the evening's performance of Our American Cousin. He then spends the next few hours plotting and gathering with his conspirators. At approximately 10:13 p.m., John Wilkes Booth goes into the president's box and goes up behind Lincoln and shoots him in the back of the head. During a scene in the performance where there is lots of laughter to drown out the gunshot, Booth then jumps out of the box and lands onto the stage, breaking his leg, and then he runs off. 2 minutes later at 10:15 p.m., Lewis Powell attacks William Seward, the Secretary of State, in his bed. Seward was recovering from a carriage accident when this happened. Powell slashed Seward's face, but the wound was not fatal. Powell would have had a clean getaway if it had not been that David Harold had chickened out and ran off with both their horses. At this point, the person in charge of the manhunt is Secretary of War Edwin Stanton. The manhunt has now begun. It is April 15th, the day after the assassination. At approximately 4 a.m., Booth and Harold stop at Dr. Samuel Mudd's house so he can fix Booth's leg. Booth and Mudd have met before while traveling. And then, at 7:22 a.m., President Lincoln is pronounced dead. As word spreads, angry mobs pop up everywhere, in southern and northern cities. A couple hours later, Booth and Harold get on their way towards the Potomac River. They are going to cross into Virginia to find a safe haven. It is now April 16th, the day after Lincoln dies, and coincidentally Easter Sunday. Church services are packed, with mourners dressed in black and colorful people because of Easter Sunday. It is a very mixed day. Preachers compare the death of Lincoln to Jesus Christ. Booth and Harold spend this day hiding in a pine thicket 2 miles east of the Potomac River. The next day, April 17th, is when 5 people are arrested: Lewis Powell, Michael O'Laughlin, Edmund Spangler, Samuel Arnold, and Mary Surratt. On April 19th, Lincoln's funeral is held. Thousands of Americans come to see Lincoln in his final resting place. On April 20th, George Azerodt is arrested, but Booth and Harold are still hiding. Booth is giving newspapers today too, and he is shocked at what he finds. People are condemning him for this crime. He thought he would be praised. At around 10:30 p.m. on this day, Booth and Harold attempt to row across the Potomac River to Virginia, but they get lost instead. On April 24th, Booth and Harold arrive in Virginia. Confederate soldiers help them get across the river and then find shelter. They find shelter in a barn owned by Richard Garrett. And also on this day, in Maryland, Samuel Mudd is arrested, the doctor who fixed Booth's broken leg. On April 25th, Union troops get a vital tip. Someone tells them that Booth and Harold are in the Garrett's farm. Union soldiers get to the Garrett's barn on the early morning of April 26th. They light the barn on fire, and then Harold surrenders, but Booth refuses and says that he'd rather die. Booth is then shot in the neck, and he dies at around sunrise.